Westminster captured the county title. The Owls are one of 4 teams with a non-losing season this fall. Liberty was the last team standing. The Lions played in the 2A, 1A state quarterfinals. More on that a little bit later. All right, time for a breakdown of each county football team and how they fared this fall. We begin with Century. The Knights went 5-5 overall and 4-2 in county play, their best season since 2019. They overcame an 0-2 start and finished with a home playoff game. Century mustered just 4 wins in the previous 4 seasons, but credit a culture shift and buy-in from the players for turning things around.
We knew that it was going to be different, right? The way they were responding to the way we were coaching, we went back, started with a lot of basic fundamentals. They were all engaged with it, but you really never know, right? So I would have to say, when things started to click with the first scrimmage against Marist Ridge, when you actually could see, what we were putting in, they had the buy-in and we were pretty successful with it. That's when we were like, okay, now we got it.
Next up is Manchester Valley. It was a tough season for the Mavericks. They went 2-8 and 1-5 in county play, but had bright spots along the way. Connor Stack led the team in rushing yards and averaged 11.1 yards per carry, the best among starters in Carroll County. Jacob Brees added 380 yards rushing, and Braden Fritz shined as kicker and punter for the Mavericks. Braden Foreman had 11 tackles for loss on defense, and Walter Sally grabbed 3 interceptions. Over to Francis Scott Key now. The Eagles had a winning record and won a playoff game after going 5-4 in the regular season. FSK started 3-0 for the first time in several years, and they posted a convincing road playoff win against rival Century in Week 10.
Yeah, I see all these great coaches in the county like Coach Basler, Coach Miller. I can name them all, but the fact that they build a culture. So it took me, I had a rough 2 first seasons, and then this third season was, we went past leaps and bounds. So building a culture is the whole thing that I'm trying to do. And even my JV, like the JV program got a lot better. So I have a lot of new talent coming in, and I still have some guys returning. Like I have a lot of sophomores that played vital positions in this team. So the future's looking bright.
Winters Mill had a down year after going 9-2 in 2023 and reaching the state quarterfinals. The Falcons won 2 games this fall, and both were against Carroll County opponents. They had several players shine throughout the season. Jarrell Baker led the Falcons in rushing and scoring, and Austin Denning came on at quarterback to throw 9 touchdown passes. Tommy Hinkhouse finished in the top 6 in receptions, and Ezzy Poutre had 72.5 tackles on defense. County champion Westminster won 7 games this year, went 5-1 in the CCAL to win their 6th title in the last 8 seasons. The Owls started 0-2 and hit their stride after that with 5 straight wins. A loss to Liberty followed, but Westminster regrouped, beat rival Winters Mill, and helped secure the county crown.
Yeah, I think if you look at our season, we started playing much better football the second half, and a lot of the scores dictated that. We were being pretty consistent there. We had a 5-week period there. We were pretty consistent offensively and and defensively as well. And the thing that I'm most proud of, I think, of looking back at this year is, we had a lot of injuries. And at one point we had 7 starters out. And to still find a way to for that next guy to step up and to keep playing that well, I think ultimately bodes very well for our program, and is something when I look back on this season, that's what I'm going to remember the most.
South Carroll had an up and down 2024 season. The Cavaliers finishing 4-6 and 3-3 in Carroll County. They featured a dynamic runner in Anthony Rodriguez, whose 717 rushing yards were 4th most among county backs. Brother Manny Rodriguez had a stellar year too. He led South Carroll on defense with 20 tackles for loss and 5 sacks. His 84 total tackles were 7th best in the county, tied for 7th best, and he added 300 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. And we finish up with Liberty. The Lions beat county champ Westminster on the road and finished 7-5 overall and went 4-2 in the Carroll County Athletic League. They won a pair of playoff games to reach the state tournament for just the 2nd time in program history. Like a few other Carroll teams, Liberty started 0-2, but turned things around after that.
I think early on in high school football, a lot of time you're trying to figure out what your identity is, who you're going to be. We wanted to try to run the football early. We weren't as successful as we wanted to be, and we kind of went back to what we were good at, which is throwing the ball downfield to Tristan and using the run game to complement the passing game instead of the passing game to complement the run game. And the kids bought into it. We went as Chase went with decision making, and we went. Liberty football went. When he played well, we played well, and he gave us a chance to win week in and week out. Those first 2 weeks were tough, but again, we were just trying to feel ourselves out, so we got there.
All right, let's take a look at the county stats leaders now, and we start with passing. There's Chase Miller with his 2,000-yard season. You got Jake Dexter, who completed better than 60% of his passes this year for Century. On to rushing leaders now. Jack Hitchcock led the way, and JT Ferguson with that 1,000-yard senior season. Those two combined for 21 touchdowns on the ground. We have another batch of rushing leaders up next. Liberty's Tyson Puckett came on late in the year, had a 200-yard effort in that win over Williamsport for the Lions. All right, the top pass catchers are up next. Tristan West led the county in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He and two Lions teammates with 22 or more catches apiece. The next list of receivers, Bryson Lookingbill had quite the impact for Francis Scott Key as the transfer averaged 28 yards per catch. Very impressive. Jake Miller and Landon Hamper were South Carroll's top two. Defensive leaders for you now, and here are the top tacklers. Gabe Lee led the county as a sophomore, and you see Manny Rodriguez standing out for the Cavaliers. And one more list of tackle stats for you. Check out Isaiah Taylor here, another sophomore for the county champions, came on strong with those 10 sacks and 22 tackles for loss. And let's get the interceptions leaders up on the board. Colton Feaster and Braden Mazalewski tied for the most with 4, and 5 players there came in with 3 picks apiece. Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.